Hello everyone, today we're going to talk about the confrontation unfolding in Fulton County, Georgia. First I'll explain what exactly has happened, and then I'll come back to why this is so important. What we've seen so far looks quite serious, and frankly it's still not entirely clear how the Department of Justice, DOJ, the US government, managed to obtain a search warrant for the Fulton County election offices. And not only that, they reportedly carried away around 700 boxes of ballots, images of ballots, and essentially the entire keys to the kingdom when it comes to election materials. This is the kind of information that, as I'll explain shortly, would be extremely useful to anyone intent on completely overturning or undermining an election. When it became clear that all of this was done through the ordinary criminal process, the immediate reaction was, how did this happen? And what happens next? Now to the latest developments. Top officials in Fulton County, now joined by Fulton County itself as an institution, have gone to court and are saying give us our property back. That adds more weight to their petition and may also help them overcome certain legal standing issues. We've seen similar motions before, whether in the Trump Mar-a-Lago search or more recently in the James Comey search of Dan Richman's home, where Dan Richman successfully argued, return my property, you have no right to keep it. This is one way to challenge a search, essentially to weaken it or make it go away. You can imagine a court order saying United States, make no copies and so on. But the real question is, do you trust the government to actually follow that? Now here's a crucial point. A district court judge appointed by Trump has stepped in and said this matter is extremely important. Much of the attention is focused on something the government has kept under seal, the affidavit, in which the agent swore under oath before a magistrate judge and laid out the alleged basis for probable cause. This is the document everyone needs to see to understand what actually happened, and how a neutral magistrate approved the search warrant, allowing the government to enter the election offices and seize everything. The district court judge has now ordered that this affidavit be unsealed by Tuesday at 5 p.m. We are recording this on Monday, February 9. The motion filed by Fulton County and its officials is about as strong as it can be under the circumstances, but to be honest, they're operating in the dark. They don't yet know exactly what happened. What they do lay out are the legal standards for getting seized property returned after a search. The first and most important requirement is showing that the government acted with callous disregard for constitutional rights. In the Dan Richman case, the government took materials that had been provided for an entirely different purpose 10 years earlier and used them without screening for attorney-client privilege, and that alone was enough. This case is different. Fulton County is arguing largely based on inference, but this is the only way to get into court and force the affidavit to be revealed. Once that happens, the motion will almost certainly be amended, and the real fight will begin. Their arguments include: 1. This election has been certified 11 times as clean, safe, and secure. 2. The events in question occurred more than 5 years ago and may fall outside the statute of limitations. The statute being relied upon appears to concern election fraud. And all of this ties back to Trump's repeatedly stated but completely baseless claim that the election was rigged, including the infamous "I just need 11,780 votes" remark. For now, they are asserting constitutional disregard without being able to fully prove it, but that's how this legal game is played. All eyes are now on the affidavit, because if the administration managed to do this in Georgia, we know they are prepared to do the same in 14 other states. This is part of a broader plan in which Trump seeks to federalize elections in 15 states, precisely the states he could lose. If this pathway is opened, it creates the potential for massive disruption before the election, during the election, and immediately afterward when time constraints are tight. So the big questions are, what exactly persuaded the magistrate? What is in that affidavit? This may involve events from 6 years ago, but the consequences could be enormous. Now we'll see whether this effort is stopped at the outset or whether it gets a green light and spreads even further. So stay tuned for the unsealing of the affidavit on Tuesday. We'll talk again soon.